In this slate, it is turkey time. We have a Thanksgiving 3-game slate going on DraftKings. Highly anticipated matchups here. I cannot wait to break this down. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and I'm here to bring you the winning ingredients for our Thanksgiving Day slate we got going on DraftKings. 3-game slate for you guys to sit back and relax and chill. Throw these lineups in early and then enjoy the family involvement that you're going to have all day long. Happy holidays to everyone. Guys, right now, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetsNetShetsD. Don't forget about that TikTok at Chef_D91. And don't forget about the Patreon. Guys, we did very well on our previous video of the Monday Night Football Showdown. We were pretty accurate on where to lean, a defensive matchup. I told you guys that to stick with 3 main guys. They all came through. DeAndre Swift, I told you I loved him. He got a touchdown. Kelsey got a touchdown. That was a major play in the Patreon as well. Guys, do not miss out. Sign up for that Patreon. That link is provided down below. And for everyone else, if you're viewing this channel, because we had a lot of views in that previous video, 582. If you're viewing this channel and not currently a subscriber, go ahead and smash that subscribe button right now. We are at 1.47 thousand subscribers. We've moved up. The goal is now going to be 1.5. All right, 1.5 is our new goal. Let's get to that fast and in a hurry, and let's get into this 3-game slate. We're going to kick things off at that quarterback position here. We're going to start off at the top. All right, Dak Prescott. It's obvious, man. Prescott is having a resurgent year. Absolutely outstanding what we're seeing out of Dak Prescott. A lot of naysayers here, especially after losing Kellen Moore, their offensive coordinator. A lot of people thought that there was going to be a downturn. I thought that. That's what I was promoting. I apologize. I fully apologize here. Dak Prescott is on an entirely different level right now, looking like his old self before he got injured here. And with this matchup here with Dallas at home, it works both ways. All right. Washington Commanders defense is putrid in the passing game and against the run as well. So this could go 2 ways here. All right. Dak Prescott has been phenomenal. 41 points against the Giants, 31 against Philly, 32 against the Rams, 24 against the Chargers. He's been outstanding. Okay. He's coming on strong. He's rushing the football. He's looking like his old self. I'm very happy with what he's doing this season. So you can consider him in majority of your lineups. Definitely someone you can look at. But remember, this high price tag, he's going to be highly owned. All right. I'm trying to find some gems for you, but Dak Prescott is going to be in a solid spot. But you can be contrarian, but still have Cowboys in your lineup, Bill. We're going to talk about when we get to some other positions, some other Cowboys that are going to be in positive game scripts because of this environment here going up against Washington. But Dak Prescott is a guy we can look at that price at 6,800. All right. Now, Jared Goff is the next guy you can look at in this game between Detroit and Green Bay. Green Bay's pretty solid, but this game here has shootout potential, okay, between the Green Bay Packers and Detroit Lions. If we're looking at fantasy points allowed per game to opposing quarterbacks, the reason why I like a little bit of a shootout is because it's going to be the Lions side of that football. They're giving up the 6 best performances from opposing quarterbacks, 18.8 fantasy points. Okay, so if we have a little bit of back and forth between Jared Goff and Jordan Love, that's going to bode well for both sides, and it's just up to you of which guy you're going to choose at that QB spot. So Jared Goff, if we're looking at him, his home and road split, he tends to play better at home. 20 fantasy points at home, 17 on the road. All right, a little bit of a struggle last week against Chicago in a home game there because he threw 3 interceptions, but if he didn't have that, he would have scored over 20 fantasy points. So that's what you want to see. So there are other avenues in this Thanksgiving slate that you can go with. Jared Goff doesn't provide upside rushing the football. He's gonna have to get you a multitude of TDs. All right. Sam Howell is one of the leaders in the league of passing yards. He's always capable of putting up a big performance. I like him at 6,200. All these QBs have a lot of upside, all right? Right now, Sam Howell, what you think in this game, in division matchup? Can Sam Howell keep up with the Dallas Cowboys offense? That's going to be the question, all right? We already expect Cowboys to be up. Can Washington come back and make this at least a competitive game? They struggled against the Giants, but still, Sam Howell, with a game of 1 TD and 3 interceptions, still got you there. That's why he has upside. He got you 20 fantasy points, despite the fact he had a horrible game passing the football. So Sam Howell can be considered at 6,200 as well, all right? Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy, and we'll talk about another quarterback here. These are the two quarterbacks I'm going to talk about that have high upside that can compete with Dak Prescott. Number one will be Brock Purdy. All right. Obviously, his jam-packed offense with McCaffrey, Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. With all these guys healthy, Purdy is looking like a stud each and every game. He just has to make the simple plays. And, hey, we're all expecting him to falter, but he is bouncing back. In the past 2 games, he has 6 touchdowns against Tampa Bay and Jacksonville. And now he's going to be against Seattle. Yes, it is in Seattle, in division matchup, but this is a spot where he can take advantage of yet again here. So I'm liking Brock Purdy at this price at 6,100. If you want to save salary, consider Purdy and consider Jordan Love. All right, Jordan Love here. This is why. If you want to be contrarian, the 3 main quarterbacks we're going to be talking about, I already said Dak. Number 2 was Purdy. Number 3 is Jordan Love, all right? He's coming back strong here against the Chargers. He opened things up. We saw a positive performance from him against Pittsburgh, despite the 2 interceptions, and now we saw a little bit of an uptick against the Chargers. We're seeing some guys step up who we'll talk about very soon at the wide receiver position in this team, and Jordan Love is looking a little bit better here. And I'm liking the high scoring potential in this game between Green Bay and Detroit. I already showed you, like I said, Detroit Lions are giving up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. So Jordan Love, if we want to save salary, we want to punt it at that QB spot, I would go with him at that QB at 5,500, and then you can work in your Detroit players because Love has more upside than Jared Goff. Love can run as well. That's why I'm leaning more that route at choosing him. Geno Smith is on there as well, but he's dealing with a very tough matchup against San Francisco, and he's been very, very poor this year, all right? Despite the fact he has 1 big game, really, 27 against Washington. That's the only bright spot for Geno Smith pretty much this year. Other than that, he's going to be middling, and I do not like his matchup against the 49ers. Let's go into the running backs. On to the running back position here. We got a couple gems, all right? We're going to start off at the top. All right, Christian McCaffrey is a complete stud, all right? We have no problem going toward him at this price of 8,700. Technically, it's the cheapest he's been, I want to say, all season. If we're going all the way down, he hasn't been this cheap since week 5 against Dallas, all right? And this is a guy that's going to get a ton of usage, rushing the football and receiving the football. He could be clearly a plug and play, definitely someone you key in on in each and every one of your lineups. All right, McCaffrey in this spot here against the Seattle Seahawks. Doesn't matter the matchup. It's going to be a good spot for him, all right? Now, Jahmyr Gibbs is the next guy. He's splitting carries with David Montgomery. He's going to have to be very efficient. And we've seen Jahmyr Gibbs since week 7, after that bye, turn things up here. Well, excuse me, not after bye. After he came back from his injury, he's been outstanding, all right? So 27 against Baltimore, 32, 26, 21. We have 4 games over 20 fantasy points here for Jahmyr Gibbs. If you want to go with McCaffrey Gibbs, you can. It's this slate makes it really difficult because there's so many ways you can go. I love all these options here. I really want to be honest about that. Jahmyr Gibbs is in the ilk of a Christian McCaffrey, where he's doing damage, rushing and receiving as well. But you do have to remember he is splitting carries with David Montgomery. Do not forget that David Montgomery is right there $500 cheaper, and he's going to be guaranteed work in goal-to-goal situations. All right, when they're at the goal line 1, 2, 3, 4 yards away, they're going to be bringing in David Montgomery. He's going to be that battling ram to get it in the end zone, and that's where he can be an X factor there. And a little bit contrarian with everyone going with Gibbs, all the explosiveness there. You tend to forget about David Montgomery because he's going to get the bulk of the carries and he's going to get the bulk of the more important situations on that field, especially when they're in the red zone, right by that end zone. Okay, so David Montgomery can be considered as 6,300. Now we have some sneaky players here, because we have Aaron Jones is out for Green Bay. So that's going to lead us to go towards A.J. Dillon. He has upside as a number 2 RB here. In the previous game where he had the bulk of the work, where's that game? It was 13 fantasy points. Yeah, against the Raiders, Aaron Jones was out. He had his best game there of the season. So I know he's been really, really bad. He's been really bad, but they're seeing a couple of injuries here on that Green Bay Packers side. No Aaron Jones, and Emmanuel Wilson might be out as well. They're going to have to lean on A.J. Dillon a little bit more. If you want to save some salary at $5,400, you can go to that, all right? I think the player I like a little bit more, definitely I like a little bit more than A.J. Dillon will be Zach Charbonnet. I don't care about the matchup. He is someone very, very special. He's getting his opportunity now. This rookie running back with the injury to Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet is probably, I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to get a touchdown in this game on Thanksgiving. I love him in this game against the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, it's a tough matchup, but he's bringing you upside rushing and receiving. He's going to be a key component in lineup builds that we can be going towards, because a lot of people are going to just pay up. It's just easier just to go to Gibbs, McCaffrey, all these definite bona fide answers, David Montgomery. But Zach Charbonnet, he's going to be faded because of the matchup against San Francisco. I think we take advantage of it because he's going to get usage rushing and receiving. He has 11 targets in the past 2 games, 10 catches, and he's done very solidly in these opportunities. This is a tough matchup. Expect Geno Smith to be checking that football down, all right? Now, some other salary savers here at running back. Brian Robinson's been okay this year. This is a tough matchup against Dallas defense. He's been really good the past 2 weeks, 20 and 30 in those past 2 games. You can't consider him at 5,900. I like Antonio Gibson a little bit more over Brian Robinson. If we really want to get down and dirty and have some low ownership, Antonio Gibson in a game that you expect this team to be down, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot, and as you can see, the receptions for Antonio Gibson is the key component to him. He has 16 targets in the last 3 games, all right, that he's played. That is phenomenal. He even has a touchdown as well. So expect the little dump off passes, the screen passes. That's what they use with Eric Bieniemy, with Antonio Gibson here in this offense. Back-to-back games with double-digit fantasy points. He's coming back from his injury. Expect him to be in his particular role that he's had all year long. If we're saving salary, you want to punt at the running back position, I like Antonio Gibson at 4,500. All right, now let's move on to the wide receivers. We're going to do this as a stack. All right, so I'm going to go through the stack of wide receivers, highest to the lowest. The first team we're going to be talking about, because this is the best matchup, is going to be the Dallas Cowboys. All right, so you got the core of CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, and Jalen Tolbert. Yes, I said Jalen Tolbert. All right, CeeDee Lamb, we already know he's been a top 3 wide receiver in fantasy all season long, averaging 23 fantasy points, has over 1,000 yards already, and 6 TDs. This is the bell cow here. As you can see, look at that cluster in between week 8 to 10. 44, 32, and 42. You see the upside here, and this is the number one matchup against opposing wide receivers. When you're going up against the Commanders, you want your the number one wide receiver, and that is CeeDee Lamb. Expect him to get in the end zone this week. Love him in this matchup, all right? They do not have anyone. Forbes, the rookie cornerback, he has been absolutely garbage this year, and there's a ton of holes in this Washington Commanders secondary, right? Brandon Cooks is a guy that can be very sneaky. He's had some pop-up games. You saw the big blow-up against the Giants, 9 for 173 and a touchdown. He had a nice solid game against the Rams with a TD and the Chargers as well. So now you're going up against Washington. Expect Brandon Cooks to be someone that he can rely upon in certain situations. I like Brandon Cooks, his upside this week on Thanksgiving at 4,500. All right. Michael Gallup is having I'm not going to say a resurgent year, but we're happy that he's being more consistent, running routes. Got a touchdown in the Giants game. I don't expect him to have very solid production in this one. He would have to break one for a TD. If I'm choosing a third wide receiver, I like Jalen Tolbert more in this offense. He's been creeping up week after week with more snaps. And as you can see the trend right there. So in the early in the season, we saw 0, 0, 0, 1. You see some blips here and there. But now from week 9, from that Philly game, you're getting consistency from Jalen Tolbert running in 4 and 3 wide receiver sets. You got a consistent 5 targets in the past 3 games. He can be someone that we can look at if you want to punt at that last flex play. It could be a cheap wide receiver. Jalen Tolbert can be that guy here, especially in this game against Washington. Everyone is just going to slam in Lamb. But do not forget some of these secondary and third options on these teams, all right? Now, the next core of wide receivers we're going to be looking at is going to be in this Green Bay and Detroit game. I like both sides here. We're going to talk about Detroit first, all right? Detroit, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, and pretty much you got Josh Reynolds and Jay Williams here, all right? Amon-Ra, he's right up there with CeeDee Lamb, having a very, very productive season. I think he's going to be more of a guarantee in this game a little bit just because the volume he's getting. We've seen big blow-up spots from him against the Baltimore Ravens and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 19 and 15. I like this back-and-forth environment. Despite what we might think about in that Washington game, that one could be more one-sided. This game here, Green Bay, Detroit, this is what we get every single year in Thanksgiving, and both of these teams are going to be competitive enough in this type of environment. I expect a back-and-forth and a lot of points in this one. So if I'm choosing a game to stack, I'm choosing Green Bay and Detroit. So I want both sides of this. Love Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jay Williams is going to be my number 2 wide receiver I'm going to go towards because of his explosiveness. He needs just one catch, and he can definitely be a huge X factor in tournaments, as you saw against Chicago. 2 for 44, got in the end zone. That's all you needed from him. So Jameson Williams is someone that's going to be very sneaky. You got your veteran Josh Reynolds. He's going to be our third option. I'm moving him behind Jameson Williams here because the way the Detroit Lions go, they're going Amon-Ra, they go Jay Williams, they're using both of their running backs, and then Sam Laporta. Those are going to be the 3 main guys there, all right? Now, for the Green Bay side of things, you have Romeo Doubs is priced the highest. Christian Watson has explosiveness, but he's been very poor this year. The connection between Jordan Love and Watson is not there. It's not the same as what we saw last year with Aaron Rodgers. And the favorite target for the Green Bay Packers is Jaden Reed, all right? Their rookie wide receiver out of Michigan State. He's been super consistent all season long. If we're looking for a punt play in all our lineups, go to this glue guy here in Jaden Reed at 4,200. Very cheap, gets you access into this game between the Lions and the Packers, and you got pure consistency. Not only is he doing damage receiving the ball, he's actually running the football and being very dynamic. He had a touchdown rushing the football against the Chargers. He had 19 fantasy points against Pittsburgh. He had 12 fantasy points against Minnesota. 11 against Denver, 19 against Atlanta. So you're seeing upside here. He's growing. He's getting more comfortable with Jordan Love here, and I believe him. Jayden Reed is the number one wide receiver in this offense for the Green Bay Packers. So I would go Jayden Reed, I would go Romeo Doubs, and then I would go down to Christian Watson. I do not like Christian Watson this year, especially. I think it was a big loss when Aaron Rodgers came to the Jets. All right. The next stack we can go towards will be the San Francisco 49ers, all right? And then Brandon Ayuk is just a baller. This is the year of Brandon Ayuk. He is emerging and setting himself as the clear number one in this offense, all right? If you don't want to go Lamb, and if you don't want to go Amon-Ra, then definitely fit in Brandon Ayuk. He was super efficient. Look at the depth of target he had against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 31.2 average per catch. Had a touchdown last week, 29 fantasy points. This man is very dangerous and can take any catch all the way to the house. He's super efficient. Only has 43 catches, but almost 1,000 yards. So love Brandon Ayuk. Deebo Samuel's your gadget guy, 5,900. He's having an okay season so far. So he's not one of our favorite targets in this offense. I'm going Brandon Ayuk, or I'm going Kittle or Christian McCaffrey. Those are going to be the three main guys. Deebo Samuel, I told you, he's not a true wide receiver. He needs an injury. He needs to be rushing the football more for him to pay off. Obviously, he can break any type of catch all the way to the house. That's what you're baking in on. But I'm relying more upon Brandon Ayuk in this offense, all right? And then you have Seattle and Washington as the two other stacks that you can consider. If we're looking at those, then for Seattle, DK Metcalf is someone we can look at. Tyler Lockett has been very injury prone so far this year, but he's still gutting things through. He's just not 100% healthy. Metcalf, on the other hand, he's the lead guy if you want to go that route at 6,500. Had a solid game against the Rams and the losing effort there. But this is a tough matchup against that defense here. Sneaky punt play will be JSN. They're running more 3 wide receiver sets for the Seattle Seahawks. So JSN can be a guy you can choose as a bottom flex play. All right. And then on the Washington side, they're last but not least here. You got McLaurin, Dotson, and Curtis Samuel. If I'm choosing one guy here, other than McLaurin, Curtis Samuel has been someone that's been very consistent for the Commanders. As you can see, the big blow up spot games here: 14 against Atlanta, 18 against Chicago, 18 against Philly. So he's being used in multiple ways, receiving and rushing the football. All right, let's go on to the tight end position. Before I speak on the tight end position, I do want to say I did miss out on one running back. And the reason why I went in access in that Dallas Cowboys game, other than Dak Prescott, because he's going to get high usage, is Tony Pollard. I have a feeling that Tony Pollard is going to have a very strong finish to this season, all right, going into the playoffs. He hasn't been good all year long, pretty much. He had a good start. He was very good in the first 3 games. Had a little bit of a die down in mid-season, and I think things are turning around. He had an easy game against Carolina. Now he gets another easy matchup against Washington. Expect more usage from Tony Pollard. Expect more explosiveness from Tony Pollard. Expect more touchdowns from Tony Pollard. So if you want to get away from usage and ownership of a David Montgomery, a Jahmyr Gibbs, all around that price range there, Tony Pollard, he's going to be that guy in the middle. He's like, he hasn't been consistent. Another guy that people are not really keying in on because he has not performed majority of the season. Tony Pollard is a guy we are looking at in that lineup build if you're stacking up that Cowboys game. All right, I want to definitely mention Tony Pollard. Matter of fact, I will throw him in there. So hopefully if you got to the end of this video, you're looking and realizing that Tony Pollard should be a very good play going against Washington. Like I said, Washington is bad against the run and the pass. We'll see which one takes more advantage of their scenario and situation. All right. Now, the tight end position, we're going to look up things at the top here with George Kittle. If you have enough salary here, this is a guy that has a very good connection with Brock Purdy, and we're getting consistency from George Kittle in the past 4 games. 13 against Minnesota, 26 against Cincinnati, 23 against Jacksonville, and 22.9 against Tampa Bay. All right, this is a 1-2 punch. 1-2-3 punch here for 49ers. It's pretty much Kittle, Ayuk, and McCaffrey. Those are the 3 core guys you want from 49ers. Debo, sorry about it, you're 4th in line, and that's just how the way it is. All right, so I'm loving Kittle. The strong finish right now, this back end of the season, he's looking very, very good, and he can be a tight end we can key in on at that very high price. Do not shy away from that. Sam Laporta, he's had a very good year as a rookie. Two under 10 games we had against Chicago and against the Chargers. Fantasy points allowed here if we're looking at that tight end position. The Green Bay Packers are middle of the pack. They're giving up around 9 fantasy points a game to opposing tight ends here. Did they already play this season? I want to double check on that. They did. He only had 9 fantasy points in that one here. So Sam Laporta, he needs to get in the end zone. He's getting a solid amount of usage here, but we are looking at more targets towards Jameer, Amon-Ra, and Williams is back now. Jameson Williams is back now. So Sam Laporta is going to have to find his way in that little quartet of pass catchers that they got for the Detroit Lions at 5,200. All right, Jake Ferguson is a guy that's been soaking up targets, being a very reliable dump off guy for Dak Prescott. We saw that cluster there between week 8 to 10 where he had touchdowns in each and every game. He's getting a nice handful of targets in the last past 4 games, 5, 7, 10, and 4. For him to really pay off, he needs to get in the end zone, but he's someone that has been being used at a very decent rate. All right, for the fact that they lost Dalton Schultz, Jake Ferguson has been a solid backup, and he's averaging over 10 fantasy points a game. So if you want to save some salary there, 3,900 is you can consider him there at that price. All right, we're gonna skip Logan Thomas, even though he's been really solid with 10 fantasy points a game. As long as he's healthy, he's been okay. All right, he hasn't really blown up besides that Philly game and the Chicago game. Other than that, he's going to get you a nice handful of targets and get you around 8 to 9 points. All right, but someone I'm looking at as the X factor in this game because I want to have access to that Green Bay and Detroit game. Luke Musgrave, he's yet to have his big breakout game, and he's someone that's been getting he's getting all the snaps, all right, and he's getting a solid amount of targets. All right, we're talking about over 90% of snaps. That's what Luke Musgrave, he's always on the field. He's going to be fine. He had a little bit of an abdomen issue. He was discharged from the hospital. Musgrave seemingly emerged from Sunday's game unscathed, having posted 4 catches for 28 yards, 63% snap share there. But LaFleur revealed that Musgrave reported abdomen injury. So we're going to clarify his injury as we get closer to game time, make sure he's going to be in. And then I think Luke Musgrave is going to be a sneaky play at that tight end position. If you're looking at someone to save salary, if you don't want to go with Kittle and you want to have access in this game, I think Luke Musgrave can be a guy you can go towards at that price. All right. Other than that, you got Noah Fant. He's someone that doesn't get used a lot. He needs to get in the end zone there. He doesn't have a touchdown yet so far this year. It's pretty ugly once you get past that top 5 guys there, and you're really throwing darts if you go past that $3,000 mark. So the cheapest I would go at that tight end position will be Luke Musgrave. All right. And then last but not least, we have the tight end position. I don't want to get too cute in this. I would stick with Dallas and 49ers. If I'm choosing a third defense, and it's tough. It's tough. I would lean towards, if you're punting it, go with Seattle. If there's more of a defensive matchup here between 49ers and the Seahawks, because it's an in-division matchup, you can go towards them at 2,600 in this game, okay? That's how cheap I would go. Other than that, I'm either using Cowboys defense or 49ers. I'm staying away from the Lions and Packers because I see that game environment as high scoring. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll be back with another video very soon. Happy holidays to everyone and happy Thanksgiving. All right. Peace out, guys.